Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Nuff channel. In this video we're going to go through our tops, chops, traps and slaps for round 4 of NRL Fantasy. So a lot of movement this week with trades, given a lot of ins and outs in team lists. So we're going to go through and dissect our thoughts on it, and I guess give you some options around top picks, players we can chop, potential traps, and moves that we need to give ourselves a slap in the face with. So basically just of how it works, just there. If it's a trade-in option that's good, tops. If it's a good trade-out option, we'll chop them. If it's not such a good trade-in option, it's probably a trap. And if it's not a good trade-out option, we will give ourselves a good slap. So as usual, we'll start with the hookers. And so the top pick this week, I think, is Api Coruscant. Looks to have established himself as, a clear top tier hooker alongside Harry Grant. He's not going to get any cheaper. So if you are looking to bring in a hooker this week, particularly if you need cover for Harry Grant, who's on the bye, I think, you just go straight for the premium option with Api Coruscant. On the chopping block, I've got Phoenix Crossland, not the most highly owned player in the game, but with Jaden Brayley, back in the team, you can sort of see that maybe his role will diminish a bit. They're not as reliant on him in the middle, and that hooking role. You'd imagine eventually it will become flipped where Brayley will start and Crossland, due to his utility value, will play off the bench. So I think, for that reason we can start to look to phase Crossland out of our teams. Trap this week, I've gone with Reed Marnie. So obviously his score last week was inflated by a try and a massive line break, which led to a try assist. As much as I'd love to see him do that every week as a Dogs fan, I don't think that's the case. So I wouldn't look at Marnie as like a pod option at this point. I think it's essentially Api Coruscant, Harry Grant are the ones you're targeting. Obviously, we're not targeting Harry Grant this week because he's on the bye, but we're definitely not trading him out. You brought him into the team knowing that he's going to be on bye this week. All right, so if you were silly enough like me to also have Pappenhausen and Chan all on bye, all right, and then you've got all the injuries stacked on top, I think you've just got to cop it on the chin because Harry Grant is the number one hooker in the game, both in terms of NRL and fantasy. Into the middles, and I've gone with the top option this week being Adam Fanua-Blake. So I guess fantasy more so than Supercoach. The middle forward role is really important. They're big scorers. And obviously, we're missing two of the big hitters at the moment with Payne Haas injured and Tino, who you can see is our chop this week, out for the season. So I think, you always want to try to have a potential captaincy option in the middle. The obvious candidate would be Isaiah Yeo, but given that he's not that far down below Isaiah Yeo, and also given the fact that Fanua-Blake won't be in calculations for Origin, I think if you've had Payne Haas, if you've had Tino, and you've got that extra cash, this could be an opportunity to start future proofing your team and carrying Fanua-Blake, right through the Origin period. So I think I wouldn't begrudge people bringing in Yo. I know Cam Murray's another popular option at a slightly discounted price, but I think for me, if I had the money in the middle forwards to bring in someone, I would go for Fanua-Blake. So Tino, we've touched on, ACL out for the season, devastating news, but we need to move on. On the trap list, I've gone with Alex Seyfarth. So, we had him on the chopping block last week, proven to be a bit of a trap. And then he goes and scores a try, and I think he got about 50 fantasy points, made us look stupid. But a bit like Samuel Finu the week before, who did something similar and scored well, it's not going to happen to these middle forwards of the Tigers every week. So, you know, we've seen the floor that Seyfarth has back in round two. So, just because we've seen the potential ceiling doesn't mean that's what we should be expecting moving forward. And on the slap list, I've gone with Jamin Salmon. So he was fairly high on the trade out list when I looked when preparing this video. And I couldn't understand why when he's still got a single digit break even. He's obviously not scoring heaps, but he was also less than 300k at the start of the season. So you're still getting good value from the pick. His dual position, which is handy. He's actually playing this week, which is more than what we can say for some of the picks in our squads. So I don't think we should be trading out a player like Jamin Salmon this week. Onto the edge, and the top pick I've got this week is actually more of a middle, but he is dual position, so it qualifies. And that's Xavier Wilson from the Broncos. So obviously came in for Payne Haas last week and did a pretty good job off the bench. He's still below 300k, which is very nice. And as I said, he does offer that dual position flexibility. So definitely one if you are looking to upgrade even in the middle, and you're not got the money for a Fanua Blake, Xavier Wilson can fill that role for you. On the chopping block, I've gone with Brendan Piakura. So I think he's out for about 3 to 4 weeks with this ankle injury. Um, and I guess, if we sort of sleep on him, we're carrying a couple of Storm guys and we're carrying, say, Nathan Cleary, someone's got to go. And I think, Piakura is an obvious candidate out of those sort of players that, we can easily replace. And if he comes back and he looks good on his return, well, then we might even be able to sneak him back into the team. On the trap list, probably not one people are actually trying to trade in, but Bryce Cartwright was supposed to have had a fractured rib out for 4 to 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. Then he goes and gets named in the team. And it sounds like he actually has admitted he's got a fractured rib, but he's trying to gut through it, which, so early in the season just doesn't make logical sense. So I know Parramatta struggle in the back half of the season and, they definitely want to get the fast start, but I don't think that Cartwright playing is the smartest idea. So it's more of a vibe call. I think he might be a late out, and particularly given he's in the last game of the round. You basically have to have another eel or a tiger to cover for him because everyone else will be locked out. So I think if you're looking at Cartwright, have a plan to not go with him this week. And Joe Chan is the slap pick. Guess in line with what we said with Harry Grant. We picked him for a reason. There is an argument you could go to Wilson. It's a bit sideways, but dual position's nice. And playing this week is really nice. So, not the strongest slap, not as strong as it would be in a super coach sort of circumstance, but, I think there's better options to trade out. In the halves, so I've gone with Lockie Galvin as the best pick this week. So I think that's 3 weeks in a row now. But, he's looking really good. He's still got a lot of value about him. So this might be about the last week that we, sort of go with the pick. But I guess until someone else comes up, it could keep going. So I guess if you, particularly with all the injuries, it's an easy trade down. And he can definitely sort of play on the field if you need. So yeah, Lockie Galvin is the top pick again this week. On the chopping block, I've gone with Mitchell Moses just because he is actually confirmed out for 6 to 8 weeks, or was it 8 to 12? I can't remember. Too many injuries with his injury, which again I've forgotten. Too much going on. Yeah, get out of the pick. You got Galvin. You've got other value options too, like Katoa at the Dolphins. Even Kyle Flanagan's making a bit of cash at the Dragons. Um, So yeah, plenty of options. I don't know if the other top tier options are the way to go, but I mean, you're probably not as disadvantaged in fantasy because of things like kick meters. So your DCEs, your Ben Hunts are definitely there or thereabouts. But yeah, I guess one player I've got on as a trap is Sean Johnson, and this is purely just because he's not kicking goals, so he misses out on those, you know, 8 to 10 points a game from the goals, um, which obviously limits his upside. And Nathan Cleary I've got as the slap purely because there's mixed messaging about how long he's out. It seems like even worst case scenario was 4 weeks, which also includes their buy. So you were going to hold him for the buy anyway. So if you sort of turn it into 3 weeks, then it doesn't sound so bad. And probably one that you can hold with some other confirmed longer term injuries in our teams. Into the centres, and so the top pick this week, I've gone with Jacob Carraz. So absolutely tore it up on the weekend against the Titans. Um, I guess, looks like he is locked into playing in the centres, even with Connor Tracy in the team. He's playing that wing role. Addo Carr could actually be back this week, but it looks like they've told Kiraz that your spot is centre. It's you know do what you do, which for him is run the ball a lot, offload, create havoc on that right edge essentially. So um, at under 600k in dual position and a ridiculously good break even this week, I think if you are like me and need someone to even cover wing fullback, I think he is the best pick. On the chopping block again, Jack Bird, so still highly owned. Um, is playing in the centres, even though he is an edge forward as well in fantasy. Um, there's just way more value in picks like Carraz. In other, there's a couple of cheap centres as well, like Blaze Talangi, who I guess probably didn't get the nod for the the centre of the week purely just based on the fact we probably a lot of us are already carrying Burbo, Strange. Can we really afford a third cheap centre? Um, for me, no, but maybe for you, that is the pick of the week. So Um, yeah, I've gone with Kiraz just because I think we need a bit more of a gun presence in our centres. But again, I might just be talking myself into it. The trap this week, I've gone with Kale Iro. So one that was super hyped in preseason. He's finally getting his chance. But it's only because Talakai has to fill in as a second rower because there's no forwards at the Sharks. So I think it's a 1 week deal, and then he'll go back to the extended bench once Nicker is available back in the second row. Um, yeah, so and obviously you've got Talangi, you've even got Fartape if you're looking for a cheap centre. So yeah, steer clear of Iro. It's not worth it. And on the slap list, I've gone with Ben Travojevic. So obviously had a down game on the weekend, but there's still plenty of value in him. Don't give up on him so easily. They've got the Dragons this week, and the Cowboys ran all over him. So he could just as easily score a try this week, and then everyone will want to bring him back in. So just stick fat, he'll come good. The wing fullback spot, so I've gone with Jack Bostock as the best option this week. Um, I guess it's because of his matchup against the Titans, but also he does have a really nice break even, cheap price. So if you are looking to get out of, say, a Tua Picky, for example, who is out chop this week, um, you can make money from that move, which is really handy. Um, so yeah, like I said, Tua Picky's on the chopping block, out this week with concussion, and then probably will lose his spot to CNK, who should be back from his hamstring next week. So I think yeah, cut Tua Picky. You could bring in a Bostock. Um, I have got Jaden Campbell as the trap this week, but full disclosure, he could very well end up into my team. And that's purely just comes down to the amount of money available and the fact that I need a wing fullback. So I think, we can afford to sit and wait on Jaden Campbell. He's not a must have bring in now that he is back at the Titans. He is playing in the fullback spot. Um, but I guess if you're looking for someone around that price, I think he is the best option. Um, but if you can, I'd go down to Bostock, or obviously there's plenty of great options up in price. So it all depends on what your team needs, and perhaps what my team needs is a bit of Jaden Campbell. And Ryan Pappenhausen is on the slap list, so I've already said it. If you have the Storm guys, you knew they were on bye this week. Don't trade them out in a panic because you've run out of numbers. But that's the tops, chops, traps, and slaps for this week. Obviously, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to get them below this video. Um, Obviously, like the video if you enjoy this sort of analysis. Subscribe for all the fantasy sports content on the channel. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.